everyone. Casey Franchini here with Brick by Brick Wealth. We are here at Michael Zuber's One Rental at a Time. Welcome to the party celebration, and I have the honor of interviewing Lisa Sutton. I am a huge fan. She is an amazing person, multiple businesses, $1 million a year in income, and she does it all by herself. So we're going to talk to her today. Lisa, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, my background's in law. I worked as an attorney doing business litigation and business bankruptcy, and then started my first company, which was a bakery, in 2012, and then just started diversifying into real estate, e-commerce, shipping, retail, venture capital from there. And it's been an incredible almost 15-year journey.
What made you leave being a lawyer to start your own business? That's got to be a huge jump.
It was totally on a whim. So my co-founder with the cupcakes, her name is Danielle, and she was just a girlfriend of mine. We were catching up on the phone one day, and I was telling her about my big girl job at the law firm, and she was telling me that she had been making these alcohol cupcakes. And I'm like, that's genius. That is such a great idea. You have to move to Vegas, and I'll help you start the company. I didn't even know how to bake when we started the company, and it was just sheer enthusiasm and willpower that got it going. And we were so lucky to have it really turn into a really, really fun business.
Is your friend Danielle still doing the cupcakes today?
We had that business for 11 years and then exited it. And so it was an incredible journey. And if anything, having that business taught me, wow, I can have my own company as long as I team up with an operations partner. And that's exactly the model I started replicating over and over.
I love that. So tell me about, you were Miss Nevada. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is nuts. I've never met a Miss anything. So when you become Miss Nevada, what is it like after that? You know, people probably wonder, you want to be Miss America, Miss USA, Miss California, but why do people want to do that? And what happens afterwards? Like, what's next once you finally have the title?
Yes. So I think like most anything, the real work actually starts once you win. So you do all this work heading into it. I had hired a pageant coach. So roll this back to the fall of 2013. My mom called me and she was like, are you competing for Miss Las Vegas? So pageantry is kind of like sports in the sense that you have like local titles, then you go to state, and then you go to national. And then depending on the organization, you go to international. So my mom's like, are you competing for Miss Las Vegas? And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of busy. I just started a company, like I'm working, And she's like, well, you're getting ready to age out. So at the time,
So you did this while doing cupcakes?
Yes.
And you were a lawyer?
And working at the firm, yes.
Oh my gosh.
So
okay.
at the time, 29 was the age cutoff for Miss, because I guess, if you're 29 and you don't win Miss, like you just fall off a cliff, right?
Is it over, or is there,
it's
over. A grandma category? I guess you turned into a grandma after that.
There's Misses, so there's MISS, okay. Miss, right? There's Mrs., okay. MRS, there's an entire married division, okay. An organization for pageantry. It's a wild, insane. Like once you go down the rabbit hole, you're like, I didn't even know this existed, and this is crazy. Yeah. So at the time, 29 was the age cutoff, and she was like, you're getting ready to age out. And I was like, great. Yeah. So now I'm waking up one day and I'm aging out of pageantry and modeling. So I buckled down, hired a pageant coach, right? There's pageant coaches just like there's real estate coaches and everything else, right? So I hired a pageant coach. And at first he rejected me because he was like, you are too small.
You are short, just like me.
Yes.
I am like, I thought they all had to be 6 feet tall.
Yes. So he was like, you're too small. He was like your face is okay. He was like, but you're too small. And I was like, great.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
Great. This is going well.
Right.
But his name's Bill Alverson, and he's like the guy. He's out of Alabama. He had coached the last 2 back-to-back Miss Americas. Like, this guy is like
he's
the
legit.
guy.
He's the guy.
So I was like begging him. I was like, you have to take me on. I was like, what is it going to take? Like, what do I need to do? I was like, I'm not going to be able to grow, 10 inches. So like, besides that, like, what else can we do here? And so we just broke it down really methodically. So in the Miss United States organization, there are 4 areas of competition: interview, swimsuit, evening gown, and onstage question. They're all weighted evenly. And the first time that the judges meet you is actually in private interview before the show that evening, which is the pageant part of it. So when you think pageants, right, we're thinking the spray tan and the dress and the, the walking and all that stuff. That's all part of it, but it's only one part of it, right? Mm-hmm. So he was like, okay, he was like, you need to win over the judges. You need to get them to fall in love with you in the private interview, because that's the first time they're going to meet you. So then when they see you on stage that night, when you come out in swimsuit, even if the contestant before you is 5'10" and blonde, a totally different look, he's like, hopefully, she's like airhead and vapid in interview. Mm-hmm. He was like, and hopefully you win them over, right? He was like, this is the only like prayer we have. And then for the aesthetic, my evening gown, custom all the way to the floor, no slit, especially at that time, like slits were like a thing. Mm-hmm. No
with
slit.
With the long legs though.
No slit. So I could wear these giant Vegas like stripper shoes underneath my dress so I could try to look taller. And so it was so wild leading into it. Going in, I had already done about 60 community appearances heading into Miss Nevada. So by the time I got to the private interview with the judges, when they asked me, so what would you do if you were to win? I didn't have to talk about like what I would do. I talked about what I was already doing, right? The work I was already doing, and that I would continue that as the state title holder, and that I would promote my public service platform and promote the organization. And I really took that route of saying, hey, like, I'm a business owner and I know what it takes to represent an organization and market and brand an organization. Because that's really what you are. You're an ambassador for the organization. You're supposed to be a role model in the community, right? Maybe to young girls, to young women. And so I just leaned heavily on that, saying that I was already doing all of that. And I ended up winning.
How did you get this go-getter attitude? I mean, lawyer and cupcake business owner, that's a huge risk, right? Most young women aren't going to take a risk of starting a business when they have nothing to do with cupcakes or baking. And at Miss Nevada, where did you get all this drive and gusto to do all these things at such a young age?
I think, coming from a family where, my mom's like Asian tiger mom, like Korean tiger mom. So it's very like sink or swim, right? Like it was like you either like rise to the level of the expectation or like, I don't know what would happen, right? And I think being in a type of household where, academics was super important, but so were extracurriculars. And just the idea, we were very involved in our community and our church as well. And so having all of that from a very, very young age and being exposed to that at a young age, I think just kind of kept the momentum where it was like, when I was in college, I was still joining all the extracurriculars. When I was in law school, I was doing extracurriculars, and I was modeling, and I was doing all these different things. And so it just kind of kept the momentum going, and I didn't know life any other way. So I'm glad that I started all of that at a really young age.
So at what point did you go from cupcake business, lawyer? What was your next venture after that?
Real estate. And so my parents had a real estate investing background, but I wasn't super involved with them. I was just kind of on my own journey, on my own path. And then what I realized at the firm was that we had law firm clients that had real estate needs, and we were referring it out to these like bozo real estate agents. And I was like, I can get a real estate license. Like, I was like, wait a second, So I went and got my real estate license. And then I was like, clearly I don't have the bandwidth to like also be a full-time buy-sell agent. And so I teamed up with a full-time broker that I knew. And then we started a team over at Sotheby's. And we had a team at Sotheby's for 5.5 years. And then fast forward, I ended up acquiring the Engel & Vokers brand. Mm-hmm. And so now my partner, Kathy, and my real estate partner, Kathy, and I have that brand here in Vegas. And yeah, so it was just one of those things where it was like, I saw a need and I was like, we definitely could do a better job than like what the current service level is. And again, partnering with someone, because I was like, I don't have the bandwidth to like properly service. So who can I team up with to make it happen?
So how many businesses have you started?
So there's a litany of them. I've started 8 different companies over the years, wow. 5 of which are still in existence. So I know it's something we had touched on earlier, like in my presentation, but you have to have the at-bats, mm-hmm. right? Because the failures and the stuff that doesn't work out, it's part of the journey. And if you don't have the fortitude and the resilience to come back from it, it's a downward spiral.
I mean, most people barely can get themselves together enough to maybe start one business. How did you take, I'm sure you've had a couple of failures. How were you able to overcome any of those failures that you've had and kind of pick yourself back up and not give up on yourself?
I think the most important thing is just, kind of staying true to the North Star of just being like, look, like I'm building all of these things for a purpose, and understanding off the bat that like whatever things don't work out, like it's not meant for you, and that's okay, right? Like there's a larger plan there, whether you believe in God or, whatever it is. But like for me, I do. So it's like, I just look at it as like, you know what, there's a larger plan here. And if it's not working out, then like, it's okay. I have to let that go too, and then continue on to the next thing.
So what are the businesses that you still have going today? What are they? I'd love to know. And kind of how did you get those off and running? Because I kind of know what they are, but they are so different.
Yeah.
You just have to tell everyone that's watching what they are, kind of what they're about, and how you got into that.
Yeah, very diversified, which I love, actually. So with real estate, Engel and Vokers, we own the Las Vegas and Henderson offices, and they're a great brand. We're really excited to be able to acquire the brand here for the territory for Southern Nevada. The Veteran Fund, it's a venture capital fund. We invest in early stage technology companies that are focused on national security and dual use, and they must have a veteran or a military spouse on the leadership team. Awesome. My partners with that are incredible. My partners across everything, incredible. But
how would you find partners for something like this?
Yeah, so with the VC fund, so they actually found me. And there's 4 of us total on the GP side. And one of them, Justin Nahama in particular, was who I knew first out of the 3. And he had called me up and initially pitched me to be an LP in the fund. And I was like, I'm in, take my money. Like, I was like, I love the mission, And I called him back 2 days later and I was like, what's it going to take for me to be a GP? And he was like, it's really not how it works. He was like, we can't turn all of our LPs into GPs. What are you talking about? And I was like, look, I've been angel investing for about 7 years. And like anyone who's done angel investing knows, like it's a long process, And I was like, I've had some wins, but mostly it's breaking even. I was like, I've been wanting to get into venture in a meaningful way, but like, frankly, the funds I've been coming across, like, I'm not inspired, right? They're like, we invest in SaaS, and you're like, cool. Like, yeah. It's all like guys in like baggy brown suits, So, in my discussion with Justin, I was just like, I love the investment thesis for sure, right? I don't have subject matter expertise in tech in particular. However, I am an operator. I know what it takes to build a company. I know how hard it is. So the reason why I want to be a GP is because, 1, I know I can bring in other LPs.
You just muscled your way right into that, didn't you?
Straight up muscled my way in. I said, I know I can bring in other LPs. And 2, I want to have a say in the companies we invest in and how we show up for these founders, because that's the hardest part, right? Traditional VC, it used to just be, let's invest in all these companies and fully expect that 98% of them will fail because the other 2% are going to return the fund. Mm-hmm. I don't like that model. Yeah. So I said, that's what's important to me, and I think I can do a really good job of standing alongside these founders. And so he was like, you're not going to let this go, because he knows me. And so I flew out. I met the other guys on Zoom, but I flew out to San Diego, and we all got together in person and put the partnership together for Fund 1.
That's awesome. So what's been the coolest project that you've worked on with them?
It's been amazing. So we had initially set out to do a $10 million raise. We ended up oversubscribing it at over $20 million, because that's how much it resonated with LPs.
They're glad they picked you for GP.
100%. Yeah, no, they're amazing. They're incredible to work with. And they're all so amazing. They're, respective, right, too. And so it's been really fun to work alongside them. But our portfolio companies right now, we have 20 companies that we've invested in so far. And it's 3D printed drones, 3D printed satellites, cybersecurity. Like, it's really cool because the veteran leaders that are building these companies, they were boots on the ground in like Afghanistan, Iraq, right? And they were coming up with prototypes then because they were looking at like stuff that doesn't work, right? So for example, I mean, one of our founders, he was out there and they would give him a mission of where they need to drop whatever they need to drop. And he was like, we have no GPS, right? There's no signal. There is no GPS signal. So how do we get around this, right? Just the fact that it's coming from the experience and like they literally were boots on the ground and they're creating the technologies that they wish they would have had, right?
That's amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's
so
really
how
incredible.
much time per week would you say you spend on this business?
I am on, I would say anywhere between 2 to 4 Zoom calls a week.
Okay.
And it's either just our GP team or maybe there is a company that has escalated to meet the GPs and gone through due diligence enough to that point past our investment committee. So it just depends on the week. But I'm constantly on comms. So like obviously we have like group text, emails, like definitely like seeing what's going on. But that's why I said, look, I was like, you know, I want to be on a multi-decade journey with you guys. So I will take less in fund 1 because they had to make room for me on the cap table, right? So I said, I'll take less in fund 1, but fund 2, you know, we'll have a different discussion. And so Q3, Q4 this year, we'll go out and we'll do a 70 million fund 2.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Congratulations.
So just muscle your way in. Yeah.
That's freaking amazing. Okay. So you got this with Engel and Bookers. Okay.
Yep. Engel and Bookers, the veteran
one?
fund, Ship Las Vegas. So these are independent mailbox rental
this
package
one's my
stores.
favorite one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, I love this business just because it's like, you don't think about it, but you're like, I totally used that type of service in the last 30 days. Right.
So explain for people that aren't familiar, what is Ship Las Vegas?
So think like a UPS store, but it's an independent store that services UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service. So prior to opening my own stores, independent stores, I had a mailbox at a local UPS store for years and years, right? Because just as an address, additional address, right? Mailing address. And they would auto charge my credit card every year. And I would get the receipt and I would be like, oh, I should probably cancel that. I don't like really use it. And then I would never cancel it. And I was like, what is this business model that if I'm not canceling
the
other
subscriptions
people,
you can't let go because it's your address.
Yeah, other people are not canceling this, right? So then I go down the rabbit hole. This is 7 years ago. And I had initially looked at buying a UPS franchise store for the Las Vegas territory. And in the Southwest, the territory was going to cost me about $250,000 just for the territory, just for the franchise fee for the territory. That's not including my build out. That's not including my rent. That's not including anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then on top of that, once you have the store up and running after you've paid for all the tenant improvements to get it going.
They want money every month.
Yes. You have to pay them royalty and marketing fee off of your gross every month. And I was like, don't love that, but like, I can still see the value. And so I called a friend of mine, Greg, who at the time had 3 UPS stores in San Diego. And I was like, what is this business model? Like, tell me. And he was like, love my stores. I've had them for 10 years. He was like, here's the thing. If you call one of my stores right now and say you're a new mailbox customer, I don't even have a mailbox to give you. I'm maxed out. And I was like, what? I was like, just put in more. And he's like, I can't put in more because my floor plan's already done. Like, this is not just like I can just slam in more boxes. And he said, the mailboxes are the steady recurring revenue, right? Because it's a monthly charge. Steady recurring revenue. Your shipping is going to be ancillary and seasonal, right? Your holiday shipping, for example, you're going to have a strong Q4, which definitely made me perk up because, you know, especially in real estate, right? Like, usually Q4 is not strong in real estate, you know? So I was like, that's interesting. And he was like, honestly, he was like, if I were you, he was like, I would maybe look at the independent model because then you can service all the carriers and you can do the floor plan however you want, right? Put in as many mailboxes as you want. And I was like, love this. And so started the company 7 years ago. And I did 2 stores that I started from scratch. And then I acquired a 3rd store. And it's been incredible.
So how much is it like, what's the quick and dirty breakdown on? How much does it cost to lease a place or get the store going and furnish it, and how much money can you make? Like, what's the quick and dirty breakdown for all that?
Yeah. So for my experience, I started my 2 stores from scratch for under $60,000 because
can you still do that in today's world?
I think you can because you have to just think about like what exactly it is that you need in the store, right? Mm-hmm. You need mailboxes, you need counters, you need a cash register, you need a computer, you need packing peanuts, you need boxes. Like there's certain things you need, but it's not like a restaurant build out or even the bakery, right? Where not only were there certain obviously big pieces of equipment that we needed in there, we also had to pass the health department and do, you know, all these other things. Finding second gen spaces, right, that were already built. You know, they had a bathroom, they already had flooring, things like that. And then finding your mailboxes used. For my first store, I bought my mailboxes new. For my second store, I found mailboxes used on Craigslist. I know.
That is random.
Like you can find them on eBay, you can find them on Craigslist, because that's the other nice thing is that, again, you're not dictated by a franchise of what type of mailboxes you have to use.
And how many can you have in one store?
We can slam in 1,000.
Whoa.
So I started with the first bank of 220, and then we added another bank of 220. So if you have wall space, and nuanced, but like you either do front loaders or back loaders for these types of mailboxes. Can you do it
library style where there's like hallways, or does it just go around the room?
I mean, potentially, right? I mean, we just do ours like against the wall. And you'll have a mix, like ours is a mix of small, medium, and large boxes. Obviously, you charge different rates for those. And it's just been, it's one of those businesses where, especially coming from a perishable product like a baked good, it was just so nice to say, okay, now we have this business that, and coming from real estate too, right, where you have to be on 24/7. The mailbox stores, we're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. No one has my cell phone number. You know what I mean? No customers have my cell phone number.
That's so nice.
There's no emergency. There's no emergency. Like the most drama we have will be maybe once a quarter, a carrier will lose someone's package. Not us. It's already gone. It's been shipped out of the store. But like UPS, the post office, or FedEx will lose somebody's package. It just happens with the volume, right? And then we help our customer get a postage refund.
And will your place also do like Amazon returns too?
Yeah, we were able to print out like UPS labels, right? So like if you have your label from, Amazon or wherever you're returning from, we can print it out for you. Or we could just take your drop off if you already have it.
So is that all you do is returns, mailing, mailboxes? What about other merch? And I'm thinking like when I go to get my car washed back in the day, there'd be like little squishy toys and some like thank you cards or happy birthday cards or little things to buy.
Yeah. So definitely can do merch. We do cards. Obviously we sell like all the packaging materials that you need, the boxes and peanuts and all that kind of stuff. There are definitely some other stores out there that go like heavy on merch. I just didn't want to deal with like one, inventory, and then two, like one of my locations is an area that I was like concerned maybe about shoplifting. So I was just like, I just don't want to deal with the drama. So we keep our services super basic. Like we have U-Haul, we do notary. Like it's like super base level, but that's what's cool again about the independent model is you can add in whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, there's stores out there that, here in Nevada, we don't have lottery, but other places that do, right? There's stores that have lottery in there. There's stores that sell like local vendor merchandise and all kinds of stuff.
So what does it cost to kind of operate a store like that? Like you're going to need employees, and what's kind of like the average cost to profit ratio?
Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, like the main things I was looking at were what are going to be like my hard fixed costs. It's going to be like the highest ones are going to be rent and payroll. The nice thing about these stores, you can run them as lean as one person at a time, especially in the beginning. Like if you start your store from scratch and you're just building up your clientele, it takes a year at least to retrain the neighborhood to get them to come to you, because right now they're going somewhere else to drop off their packages or ship out or whatever. So you can run it as lean as one person at a time, which again was really nice coming from these other businesses that I had.
Full time? Are you paying benefits and all that?
Yeah. So, so what I did was I teamed up with an operations partner, right? And she's my partner in GM. And so basically like, you can start with like one person at a time, or you could split it where you have like 2 part-time people. What I love about the part-time one, so here in Las Vegas, we have Nellis Air Force Base here, and we hire military spouses for our stores, and they've been amazing. I feel like they're like entrepreneur secret weapon, where like they work part-time because they have other responsibilities, they work part-time. They don't need health insurance. They're like they're crafty. They're like decorating stuff. Like, everything's seasonally decorated. And you're like, great, love it.
I love it. And so you've been able to find success even in a busy city like Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Especially in a place like Las Vegas.
Because I would think, that's already tapped out.
No, especially. So here's the thing with these stores. Your clientele is actually extremely localized. So this is a convenience type of business in that even if you have a UPS store, actually, so my Fort Apache location, we have a UPS store that's nearly catty corner to us. Like if you exit our parking lot and turn left, you're going to go through one light that's right there, and then you're going to turn right, and there's a UPS store in this Walmart parking lot.
That's crazy.
And it's totally fine because that UPS store, if you have a FedEx drop off or you need to ship out FedEx, guess what? You can't go there, right? If you want to do postal service, in general, the UPS stores will put their rate, they'll jack up their rate for postal service higher than their UPS rate because guess what? They want to sell UPS labels as they should, right?
Right.
With us, we fix our margins right around 50%. Again, in general, the postal service base rate is lower usually than UPS and FedEx because, in my opinion, I find UPS and FedEx to be far more reliable, right? So if you're sending something very valuable or super important that it gets there on time, I would not recommend going postal service route. But it comes with that cost, right? Or cost savings rather. So if you come to our stores and you're like, I don't care how long it takes to get there, it's not important, like send it low and slow, we'll probably end up sending it postal service then. And you're going to pay a much more economical shipping cost than if you were to go to that UPS store.
So customers appreciate your pricing as well.
Definitely, because we have the option, right? We can show you UPS, FedEx, and Postal Service. Here's all your options, and then you can choose from there, right?
So how many of these stores do you currently own?
So I have the 2 that I started from scratch, the one I acquired, and then what's crazy is I had people reaching out to me asking if they could start their own store, right?
Yeah, because it's a brilliant idea.
Well, it's like I was like I did not invent this idea, right? But it's like I guess just the power of certainly of social media. Of just talking about it and people being like, oh my God, like, yes, like I totally use this type of store anyway.
Yeah. It's unique. I mean, as ununique as it is,
like
it's
you
unique.
don't think about it. Yeah,
right, exactly.
You don't think about it. And so
it's like this silent dark horse.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like here to stay too. Like I just just did an Instagram reel about how last quarter, this is Q4 of 2024, the United States Postal Service did $3.3 billion in revenue on what's called ground advantage shipping. This is the cheapest option to ship a package. This has a tracking on it. This is the cheapest. This is not priority mail. This is the cheapest option. Ground advantage, $3.3 billion in revenue. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what the post office is doing.
There's definitely a piece of the pie that you can snake from that.
Totally, 100%. And they're also getting paid. You know what I mean? Like, you're still sending it through the post office. So they're getting paid when you're getting paid, right? You just have a margin on yours because people don't have to wait at the post office and or deal with crazy customer service at the post office.
So this business model probably felt much easier to you than the bakery.
Hands down.
My daughter's 13 and she wants to start, now we're homeschooling, and she wants to start this sourdough bread making thing. And I'm like, okay, well, we can do cottage bakery at home without a license, but we looked up in Tennessee, when you start selling cold goods, things have to be refrigerated. Like we're like, ooh, infused butter. We can make organic rosemary butter and, garlic infused. She's like, we're going to need a license and a bakery and all these certifications. I'm like, I looked into it, I'm like, what a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So this sounds like maybe I can say, hey, Juliet, let's maybe do shipping instead.
So that's why I loved about it.
That's so cool.
That leads into the next business.
Yes.
Like I said, I had so many people reaching out to me asking if they could open their own store. And at first I was like answering like one-off emails, and then I got inundating, and then I was like, well, I don't want to like ignore people, So I ended up putting together like a program basically that just like, now it's 2 years. This summer will be 2 years. Over 60 of my students have now opened their own store.
Amazing.
It's crazy.
Amazing.
Like Puerto Rico, New York, California. Yeah. Like actually several in Tennessee, like Alcoa, like
random places.
So in like it's rural and urban. Like it's just because again, it's so localized.
How nice. And so does your program have its own Instagram people could go to, or do you recommend them going to your
it's just
website or
Mailbox
whatever?
Money course. It's a little kitschy, but like we're
cute.
like,
it has to be kitschy if it's on
it's a
social
little kitschy,
media.
yeah. But like Mailbox Money course, and it's just it became a thing. So now it's a thing. You know,
it's
now
a thing.
it's a thing.
You're the only one that does it. So
now it's a thing.
You're the mailbox money guru now.
We hosted our first student store owner summit here in Vegas last month in January. I brought them all out here to Vegas, and it was just awesome because, everyone's kind of in the same boat, whether they started from scratch or acquired, right? But they're like kind of newish to the business, and they're all sharing ideas of like what works in their store, and some of it's super localized, right? But just cool stuff like it's transformation. It's very much like real estate, right? Yeah. Where it's like, it's transformational, and you have people who from various backgrounds, right? Whether they used to own a nail salon or they were a veteran or whatever it was, right? And then they get into this business, and now like, their son is working in the business with them. And it's so cool to see.
So are you finding that most of your new students are women, men? What's kind of the common theme that, most of my students, people buying these stores are these types of people?
It's an incredible mix, actually. And also like extremely diverse too. So it's like younger, older, total mix, which is really cool. I've seen, I think the strongest student stores are some sort of like duo, right? So whether it's a husband and wife team, whether it's friends, right? Two friends, there's twin sisters in Connecticut, or like a father and son team out of Utah. Like the strongest stores, I think, are the ones that are the duos.
What kind of money are people making from these stores?
So, I mean, in general, your first year, I mean, if you can reach 100,000, like you're having a great first year. Because again, you're starting it from scratch, right? Mm-hmm. This is a brand new business, definitely not like a get rich quick, right? Brand new business. And it's going to take time to retrain the neighborhood to get them to come to you. If you're acquiring the store, different game. For example, my student Anthony in Utah, outside of Salt Lake City, Ship Utah is the store that. So he acquired a store and then rebranded it to Ship Utah. I mean, they purchased their store, right? And they're adding in hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional revenue because they started doing art shipping. Like high-end art shipping for people.
That's
awesome.
That
like he stumbled upon it because it was just like a need they had. My students in San Diego, Thor and Ethan, they're business partners. They own a CPA firm and like laundromats, and they're kind of diversified, right? They bought their store. The store itself was doing over $400,000 in revenue. They worked out a great deal. I think they did a seller finance deal, if I remember correctly. And they stepped right into it, already had existing employees, right? Mm-hmm. So they came in, they rebranded it to Park Place Mail. And so, they're doing $500,000 a year. Just
so
mailboxes and shipping.
If someone wanted to start one of these stores, what type of money or how would you get funding for something like this?
So with my stores, again, I started my first two from scratch, and I just used funds I already had, right? Liquid funds I already had. Because again, it was, under $60,000 to just get everything going, right? But our students it's been a mix. The majority of them have self-funded. There's a handful that did SBA, like Kim and Witt down in Austin, Texas. They have 5 stores now, by the way. Wow. These ladies are crazy. I love it. They have 5 stores now, but the first one was they acquired it. So they have a mix of acquisition and scratch. The first one that they acquired, they did it with an SBA loan. So they did it 10% down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. So so we went through 4. Did you have another business, or was that at 4? I forget how many. You said 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 or how many you got? You're a killer.
I know. It's crazy. And the 5th is it's our family office, the real estate, right? So my parents, they started their journey one rental at a time, right? So very appropriate with, what we're here with Michael. So we still have a family office with portfolio, both in Arizona and Nevada. I'm an only child, so guess who?
I was an only child for 10
who helps
years
run it
until my sister was born. Now she's the favorite. But
so
that's awesome. I'm thinking in my head, OMG, time management. You have not just any old business, but different businesses so successfully run, making millions of dollars. What's a day in the life?
So every day is different, but very structured, if that makes sense. So, Mondays, for example, I have 8 a.m. pipeline call that we do with our brokerage. We do it every Monday at 8 a.m. Our agents get on, I lead the call, and we go through what everyone's working on that week. And then at 11 a.m., I have a weekly GP call team with the Veteran Fund, right? So there's certain ones that are like slotted for like weekly basis. Every night at closing, so it'll be any time between 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Myself and my partner, Sarah, with Ship Las Vegas, right? We're getting all the X reports from all the stores as they're closing from our staff there. So it's just a matter, for me, it's been one, of course, your operational partners, great staff, great systems. And those systems also trickle into your schedule. So if you can have your standing meetings, right, whether it's scheduled on a weekly basis, bi-weekly, or monthly, schedule those out, because then now you know for the rest of the year what your standing meetings are with leadership, what your standing meetings are, even with just either staff or your agents. That way it's not a scramble of like trying to fit stuff into, because everyone gets busy, right? Whether it's more work stuff or whether it's life stuff or personal stuff. Schedule your standing meetings and just make them regular and put them in the calendar and have them literally scheduled for the year. Because you can always move them if you have to, but at least they're scheduled.
At least having a placeholder. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're about to have a baby any minute. Yeah. And whenever this goes live, he'll be born. How do you anticipate your life kind of changing with your businesses once you have your first?
Yeah, no, we're super excited. It's one of those things where even through the pregnancy, and I've had a really great pregnancy, which I'm thankful for. I didn't know how it would go, but just like from a mindset standpoint, I was just like, I have so much shit I have to get done. Like I was like, I don't have time to like be sick. I don't have time to, like feel bad, right? And what I also didn't want to do was like blame things on the pregnancy, So I wanted to be like overly accountable, and like also like anything that I committed to, unless I actually physically wasn't feeling well, right? Versus like you don't want to do it because you're feeling lazy, right? I was like, I've got to stay on the stuff I commit to, So that's been helpful. I just think like, we're excited to, it'll be nice because the baby will come in spring. We're going to take summer to spend some time up at our property that we have in northern Nevada, which everyone, if you're local to Vegas, everyone leaves in the summertime anyway, because it's 120 degrees. And like, unless you're like running around a pool party, like it's not fun to be here usually. So it's kind of perfect timing, because then I'll get the summer to like relax, kind of nest up north, still be available. And that's what's nice too, right? We can be on calls, or we can be on Zoom, or, whatever it is, without having like going to in-person meetings. So I'll be doing a lot of that, I think, initially. And then I'm just looking forward to actually just incorporating the baby into whatever it is I'm going on, right?
You're gonna have the baby strapped to your chest.
Yeah,
doing all
like
the things.
He's just gonna get incorporated into everything and like just be part of it. I kind of so I have 2 corgis, so like my dogs usually go everywhere and like are part of everything. So I'm like, it's gonna be the same.
So like, you're gonna be the lady with the babies and the dogs and the stroller.
There's gonna be a lot going on, but like everyone's coming along, right? It's not that coming. Like, oh no, now I have to stay home because the baby's staying home. Like no, the baby's coming.
Baby's coming.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, one last question for you, and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women and men that are watching you inspired, thinking, oh my gosh, I couldn't be successful at one of these things, let alone 7, and still look beautiful and be smart and keep it all together. So what advice would you give to anyone, whether they're young or old, wanting to make something of themselves, wanting to start their own business, but they have all these limiting beliefs and they're scared? What would you say to get them to take the next step to make that progress and do their dream?
I mean, it comes down to mindset, right? Like you have to believe that you are capable of doing something in the first place, right? Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to get anyone else to believe it or partner with you or, participate or buy from you or anything, right? So you have to believe it. And that sometimes that takes work, right? It's not that you'll never have doubts, but like, really like working on yourself, right? Do the personal development work that it takes.
What are some tips that maybe you've done that you would be willing to share that work for you?
I would say some of the best personal development I've done have come from mentors, right? Surrounding myself with like-minded people who have done more than me, right? And getting inspired by what they're doing as opposed to feeling jealous or feeling like weird about it. Because what I've found is that the folks who are doing more than you in general, they are so willing to share. They're willing to encourage you. They want to see you do well. And then joining groups of like-minded folks, right? So whether it's following people on social that are doing the things that inspire you, joining groups, like I'm part of YPO, the Young Presidents Organization. And in that we have forums where we meet once a month. And that's by far been one of the best personal development like kind of exercises for me, is again, surrounding myself with people who are all working on themselves in tandem with their businesses. And it's been inspiring.
I love it, Lisa. So tell everyone, where can everybody find you if they want to learn more?
I'm on social at Lisa Song Sutton, and my website's lisasongSutton.com.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.